And we are live. Welcome to this live video where we talk about how to get laid when you live far from her. So this is a question that I received recently from a student that is inside of my From the Approach to the Bedroom program, and it's also a question that I'm actually receiving every year, multiple times every month. It's a question I'm receiving since many years, so I will make a video about it. So when you usually if you're living out of town and you're going on a date in downtown, in this video we will cover how to bring the girl if you're having a date in downtown, how to bring her to your place if you're living out of town. So if there is a logistical problem, so we will talk about this in this video, and it can be solved in pretty much three ways, and we will see also two bonuses way. But before we start, if you're new here, my name is Luca, and I'm one of the world's leading experts about approaching girls in the daytime. Since 2018, I've helped over 1,200 men sleeping with new girls approached in the daytime. I started teaching it only in Italy in 2018, and then also internationally from 2022. So, how to get laid when you live far from her? So, the first way is when you are on the first date. I suggest do not try to get her to move. Let's say that you live out of town, whatever town you live in. Let's say you live 20 miles away from downtown, 30 miles away from downtown. So it depends from your mindset, but it's not a easy movement that you can do. It's not something that it's not an easy investment that you can ask to the girl. Usually you will not ask her to come to your city if you're staying 20 miles away, 30 miles away, or even more. Even if you had a very solid interaction when you met her in person and you exchanged the phone number, it's very difficult that she will make this big investment of coming until your city if you're staying at 20 miles away, 30 miles away, 50 miles away, or whatever it is. Occasionally it may happen. On my first date ever, it happened that she made something like 70 miles or something like that with the train twice. She did it. It happened also in other situations, but it's not the rule. So you cannot count on this. So usually on the first date, don't try to get her to move. Okay, it's better you go to her city. Okay, and when you are on a date, get to the kiss. This is the minimum requirement. Get to the kiss to increase your value in her eyes, and this will make it easier for her to move next time. So usually you will not have sex on the first date when there is this logistical problem. But if you are increasing your value in her eyes by getting to the kiss, it will be easier for her to move next time on the second date. And also, it's very important that also in the first date, you start talking about activities you might do next time in your city. So activities, it can be showing a specific place in your city. It can be activities such as also eating, drinking. Maybe during the date during the first date, you're asking if she likes wine, if she likes more red wine or white wine. You can say, or maybe next time we can have a glass of wine in my city. There is this lounge bar that I go there every night because they make the best wine in my city. Okay, so this is just an example. So seeding activities, talking about activities you might do next time in your city. Sometimes you can say that it's in your city. Sometimes you don't need to say that it's in your city, but it's important that you create a picture in your mind that something may happen next time, and that this something, it will be in your city. So when you will make the invitation, it will not be something that it's coming out of nothing, okay? Because you already painted the picture in your mind. And on the second date, you can either come to your city. You can just make an invitation when you're texting between the first and the second date. You can also make an invitation with audio messages. You can also make the invitation through a phone call. It will be even easier, but it's not necessary. You can you just have to talk about this on the first date, increase your value in her eyes, and then you can just make easy invitation when you're texting between the first and the second date. Or you can also, if you want to be really sure, you can just go pick her up in her city, and then you maybe stay 30 minutes, you stay 1 hour having a quick coffee in her city, and then you go to your city by car, by train, by whatever the fuck you want. It depends how you are organized. So this is the best way, but let's check also the other 4 ways, which is the second way is to go to her place. So of course you have to check who she lives with, because maybe if you're living very far, it's usually not the best scenario, because you always have to split the interaction in at least 2 dates. But majority of times, if you have proper skills, if you develop the proper skills and the proper method, you will have sex majority of times on the first date. So when you are on the first date, check if she's living alone, if she's living with roommates, if she's living with her parents. You have to ask it during the interaction, during the first date. Of course, you don't have to ask it in a very direct way. You have to be more indirect, because usually when you're asking this kind of question, she knows that you're asking this because you want to invite yourself to her place. So you have to be a little bit more indirect when you're asking these kind of questions. And if she's living by herself, or also sometimes also if she's living with roommates, sometimes the roommates are not at home. Sometimes they're not at home in that moment. Sometimes they're not at home for the weekend. Sometimes they're not at home for the whole month. So also double check, because maybe if she's living with roommates, you can sometimes you can still go to her place, because maybe the roommates are out of town for the weekend, for the whole month. Maybe they are on vacation. So check, double check when you're asking who she's living with. And it's very important also after the invitation, when you are inviting yourself to her place, it's important that you have to lead the way. Okay, you have to understand, you have to have an overview of where she's living, in which area of the city she's living, because you have to lead the way. Okay, then of course when you're getting near to her place, she will be the one that knows where to go exactly. But do not expect that after the invitation she will just stand up and start going towards her place. It will not happen. You will burn so many situations if you are not the one leading the way, even if you're going to her place. So very important. And the third way to solve this logistical problem, so when you are living out of town and you're going for a date in downtown, is also to have sex in the car. So if you have a car, you can also use this scenario. So some girls remember that you will never have sex in the car. So if you are not living by yourself, it's a very bad situation. I have been in this situation for many years in my beginning, in my journey of success with women. And so that's why I have so much experience about how to solve this logistical problem. But some girls remember that they will never have sex in the car. So as soon as you can, go living by yourself. And I was always parking my car less than 1 mile away from the date location, and just having a normal date, getting to the kiss, doing all the things that you need to do on a first date, physical escalation, verbal escalation, logistical escalation, and then when she's ready, when she's attracted enough, when she's trusting me enough, I make an invitation, and then I go to the car, which is in a let's call it a parking A. So you have to prepare a parking A and a parking B, because the parking A, it's a parking where there are other cars. It's not too isolated. There may be other people walking by, but you need to park in this kind of parking, because if you're bringing her immediately in a very isolated parking, she may freak out if you did not build enough trust. So, and what I was doing usually, if no one was starting to walk by next to my car, I was just starting to have sex with her in the first parking. If there were too many people that were starting to walk by next to the car, I was just driving immediately in the parking B. And so in the second parking, which it was 5 minutes away from there. So you do not have to improvise in these kind of situations. You have to always be prepared. So you have to be prepared already in advance, in advance with a parking A and a parking B. Because imagine that maybe she was already sucking your dick, and other people start walking to next to your car, and then you have to drive it's a pretty uncomfortable situation. Maybe you have to dress up immediately, you have to go in front, you have to drive casually. You may also ruin the moment. You may also ruin the attraction if you start driving for 20 minutes or for 30 minutes because you're not finding the right spot or the enough isolated parking. So that's why you need to prepare these before the date. And so this is the difference between someone that is having sex maybe once every 5 years and someone that is having sex regularly every week with new girls. So understanding and getting ready with the logistical situation. Then the fourth way, but the fourth and the fifth way, it's pretty much for broke people, which I cannot help too much. Broke people, because you need to first get a job and earn a living, so then you can afford the proper training programs, because otherwise you will stay virgin and alone for the rest of your life if you're not getting the right information. The right information usually are not for free. So the fourth way, but as I will just cover it quickly, because the fourth and the fifth way are pretty much for broke people, which I was also broke many years ago. That's why I know these methods. I used this in the past. The fourth way is to rent an apartment for the occasion. You can use Airbnb or whatever other platform for renting an apartment. So, but you have to follow pretty much the same method that I described at the beginning. So, on the first date, you go to our city. You get to the kiss to increase your value on her eyes. You talk about activities that you can do next time, and then when you know what's the day of the second date, you go to book an apartment, of course, in her city, and so the logistical effort for her will not be a lot, so it will be much easier. So you book an apartment for one night for the day that you have the second date, and you go check in earlier in that apartment. So if you have the date on the afternoon, you go check in the morning. If you have the date in the evening, you go check in the afternoon. So when you are on the date, you will have an apartment ready for bringing the girl. And also, I suggest you to prepare a plan B in case the date is getting cancelled at the last moment, because it may happen, especially if you're a beginner, that the date is getting cancelled at the end. And be prepared with a plan B. The plan B, when I was using this strategy, my plan B was going at the club in the evening, in the night, so the apartment wouldn't go totally wasted, because otherwise you wasted the money for that night. Okay, so prepare a plan B, and also you will be much more motivated to bring a girl to your place, because you don't want to waste the money for the apartment. And then the fifth way, it's just finding a roommate who is also interested in success with women. So moving in an apartment in the center of the city, so it will be much easier logistically for your dates. And finding a roommate who is also interested in success with women. So you will reduce the expenses, and you will avoid the so-called stupid roommates that can also unintentionally hinder you. I remember some students in the past that they were living with roommates, and they were bringing girls to their place. And imagine maybe they are just there in the living room, and you're entering the house with a girl, and maybe your roommate will say, "Oh, this is another one." It will not. It will not It will not be a situation that will help you. Or also, I remember once a student that same thing. He was living with roommates. He entered the house, and the roommates started like preparing candles for them because they were thinking that in this way they were helping him, but they're actually kind of doing the opposite. Or also, even if they're not doing anything, the girl, she will feel judged many times because she knows that there are other people inside the house, so she will feel judged, and she will not have sex with you. So it's I'm not saying that you cannot do it if you have roommates, but it's better if you have roommates that are also into improving themselves with women. But if you don't know how to invite a girl for a date, if you don't know how to move her to the next location, if you don't know how to invite her to your home, this information is pretty much useless. So if you want to go from being shy or a virgin to having sex with new girls you've met in real life, not online, reducing the chance of rejection to almost zero, click the link in the description below and book a free consultation. So I don't know if there are any questions. No idea. From here, I cannot see any questions. So see you next time.